Mike's Daily Podcast.
episode 2251, This show is called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I had tried to do a podcast yesterday, but things got out of hand, got crazy, got nuts. And then I realized just what's what. And that is I had to have some help from someone that was there to help me. That's the end of the song. I don't know, really, I guess it was the song that was thanking the person
Mike's Daily Podcast
who helped me out. Last weekend, I had spent so much time with this side project.
Mike's
Well, it's actually my
Daily
full-time project.
Podcast.
And it just took the whole weekend. And I said this time around, I'm going to ask for help. And I got help. And as someone that grew up as an only child and did a lot of stuff on his own, had to figure stuff out on his own, I'm not the type of person who asks for help all the time. I sometimes am the person everyone asks for help from all the time, and that gets a little tiring. But yes, you have to ask for help. So I did, and I got some, and I was very thankful for it. Nevertheless, I left work at 9 o'clock last night. So yeah, no podcast from Mike Matthews, that's for sure. But it's good to be here doing a podcast. It's going to get hot. It's going to get hot in the Bay Area. Dangerously hot. Temperatures are forecast to reach 120 degrees in the desert. Why you would go to the desert this time of year? Make no sense. Death Valley and Needles. You drive through Needles when you're leaving Los Angeles on your way to Alabama. Just want you to know, you will drive through Needles and you're like, ooh, that's not the best name for a town. I mean, especially if you're a drug addict, that would not be the best town. Now, if you're into sewing needles, that's, you know.
And here's today's podcast picture.
So, a needle pulling thread. The podcast picture today is from 2 years ago, and I spent a little time putting this picture up for you. Because I was thinking, and I have not been taking any really good photos lately. I haven't done much, which is going to lead to our topic on today's podcast. But yes, I have not gone on any trips, any vacations, any excursions, any Mike excursions, nothing. And so there you go. Boring picture. Well, actually, this was a fun picture from 2 years ago. I think this was the last time this guy here, the late, great Basil the Boxer, went to Benita. Oh, we had a great day that day. And lots of great... He's in the last podcast picture, which you can see at MikesDailyPodcast.com. For episode 2250. This is 2251. 2251. So, see that podcast picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And it was a beautiful day just there at the harbor in Benicia. It's a beautiful spot. They got a little marina going on. And then you take your boat out into the big channel there, the Carquinez channel, go underneath the bridge. And you can eventually end up out in the Pacific Ocean. But see, I like all that inland water area because it's not as choppy and I don't get as seasick because I'm prone to getting seasick. But I love being out on the water and near the water. So that's why Mike Matthews posts a lot of podcast pictures of water because he likes it and it takes him away. Sailing takes me away to where I want to be. Do. You know, Toto plays on the backup. They're the band in that song. Christopher Cross. Sailing takes me away to where I'm going. You know, yes, you're probably more familiar with the Styx song. I'm sailing away. Come sail away. So that whole thing. But it's going to get hot. Sacramento's going to be bad. Heat wave comes as 22 large wildfires burn in the west as an extreme drought stretches from California to western Texas. So it's not just bad here in California, a big chunk of the U.S. And it has to do with some kind of low what's it, this area here? I'm not a meteorologist, but this area in the Rockies, is that what's pushing the air, causing like what do you call it? A thing? A trough? Is it a wall? It's a wall. It's a low thing. So what's causing it with the low? It's causing it all to, yeah. First major heat wave of the season. Am I pretty much done talking about it? I think so. I want to know what's causing it. I'm looking at all these different stories here, and all they want to talk about is fire. Yeah, but what's it? It's a trough. I want to call it a trough because I like the word. Trough. Las Vegas could be flirting with 110 degrees. Oh, okay. The computer model guidance suggests the core of the heat should park over the Four Corners region. Oh, that's it. The Four Corners region. By the middle of next week and actually strengthen, leading confidence to the extended duration of blistering hot weather predicted. Salt Lake City could log 5 consecutive days with highs in the triple digits. Ooh, no thank you. And then we got the dry conditions. Enough about the weather, right? And about troughs. You might be saying to yourself, Mike, I got to get away from it all. Oh, by the way, you can hear me on the radio. I'm going to be on the radio again, as I am every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Catch me on the radio station. There's a link at MikesDailyPodcast.com, and you can listen to classic hits, classic kicks. We're talking like Joan Jett, Whitesnake, Bon Jovi, Madonna, Prince, Michael Jackson, classic stuff, even some 90s stuff like the Proclaimers, Natalie Imbruglia. That name just... You know what Natalie Imbruglia did on her second album, the one after Torn, that was the huge hit? She got working with a songwriter from a band that I really liked called Danny Wilson. It was a band called Danny Wilson because apparently that was a character Frank Sinatra played in one of his early movies, Danny Wilson. And I think it's an Irish band. So the lead singer co-wrote with Natalie Imbruglia, and I loved Danny Wilson. They had a song called Mary's Prayer. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Tun, the last place on earth. Everything is wonderful. Being here is heavenly. Every single day she sends. Everything is free. I used to have to care less. As if I couldn't care less. Didn't have to make this mess when I was Mary's Prayer. Suddenly the heavens roared. Suddenly the rain came down. Everything was washed away. The Mary that I knew. So when you find somebody you keep, think of me and celebrate. I made such a big mistake when I was Mary's Prayer. So if I say save me, be the light in my eyes. And if I say 10 Hail Marys, leave a light on in heaven for me. Blessed is the one who shares your power and your beauty, Mary. Blessed is the millionaire that shares your wedding day. So when you find somebody you keep, think of me and celebrate. I made such a big mistake when I was Mary's Prayer. And that song was one of the very first songs that I ever, when I got into radio in 1986, 87, that song came out in 87. I worked at a radio station, and they said, oh, we're going to put you to work. You're going to take these 45s, these singles. 45s, for all you youngins, is a record. It looks like a really small record and it's got a really big hole in the middle that you got to put the little plastic thing in there so that the record thing in the middle, the little pole, for lack of I don't remember all the jargon now. Anywho, you put that you put the record on, and then you're able to play it. Okay, so, but because if you played these 45s like more than twice, they started to get this burn at the front, this at the very beginning. You had to record it onto a cart, which was an 8-track tape, basically. It was a tape that went in one direction, so you never had to rewind it. And it would just forward past, and there would be a little tone that would stop it, and then you'd have it perfectly cued, and you could play it on the air. You just hit the button, and it would start to play. It's beautiful. So, Cafe So, a needle pulling thread, yours truly, Mike Matthews, would record this 45. You'd have to time it just right. You'd hit play on the record player and then hit record on the cart, and you'd have to time it just right. So I did that with Mary's Prayer. That was one of the first songs I ever did. It was that, and I Confess by English Beat. They wanted me to cart up. That's how we said it. And we still call them carts today, even though it's now just a WAV file. It's like something you'd see in your phone if you wanted to play one of the songs that you've downloaded to your phone. It's like, it looks like that, but we call those carts anyway. In radio, we have them sitting on computers. We call it a cart number, but it all goes back to the cart. So you'd cart it up, and it was very difficult, and I made multiple mistakes and had to re-record it. You have to erase it. You had this electric bulk eraser that we called it that would erase it, and then you could put it back in and then record it again. Hey, I just got a text from someone who is bugging me in my podcast. That's annoying. Let me finish this off by saying Mary's Prayer by Danny Wilson was the song that I recorded multiple times because I made a mistake. Got a little bit of a burn at the beginning of it, and then and the song got to I think the top 20. It never got that much higher. But I remembered the band. I found their cassette in a bargain bin in a Sam Goody or a warehouse, or what would they call those record stores? What's the other big one? There was the licorice disc. I can't think. Licorice Records, something. There was all kinds of Tower Records, of course, and the rest. So I got to know that song because of that. Mary's Prayer. Turns out now that the conservative talk show host Dennis Prager, he uses that song regularly as bumper music for his show. And nobody knows where that came from. All right, so let's say you're tired of Mike and you're tired of life and you want to just take a little vacation, but you don't want to go anywhere because everything's so freaking expensive. How do you get around that? You do a staycation. And according to tinytrips.com, they had some ideas. Here we go. Number one, you could designate a time period for your staycation. You can request a day off or two from work. I want to take Wednesday off, just to let you know. Make your staycation happen on a weekend, just like you would do with a regular vacation. You should block this time off your calendar to reserve it just for a staycation, and turn off the phone so you don't get stupid texts like yours truly just got. Decide where you want to go on your staycation. Do you want to stay in your own home or treat yourself to a hotel or a vacation rental? How far are you interested in traveling? The whole reason I have for talking about this is it is so expensive now to fly anywhere. Everybody wants to get out. The restrictions are getting rolled back in here in California on Tuesday. I would like to fly and see my mom in Florida. I am not going to buy tickets now. I'm going to wait a couple months. Possibly it'll go down a little bit. Who knows? We might even get another surge in cases. Hopefully not, but we might. But it seems really hot right now. The buying flights and the tickets and hotel stays. Plan some fun staycation activities. Think about hikes, spa days, museums, restaurants, or anything else you've been wanting to do but just don't generally have time for. And live real... This goes back to what I was just saying. Leave real life behind. Resist the urge to spend part of your staycation cleaning the house or grocery shopping or checking your phone. Don't schedule a dentist appointment or anything not in the staycation spirit during this time just because you're off work. Oh, great. And now I've got a radio station that's off the air. Hold on. Man. So there you go. Some tips about that. How about massage? You know what? I'm not the biggest fan of getting a massage. Every woman I've known loves getting massages, loves it when I give them a massage or when they go to a masseuse or whatever, but I do not. I'm not a fan. My mom isn't either. Maybe it comes from that, but here's some suggestions from Amanda McCracken. She is a massage therapist, coach, and journalist who writes about sports and health issues, and she wrote for the Costco Connection, which I made mention to that magazine last podcast as well. So helpful. It's free. It's sent to my house because I'm a Costco member. I gave them a plug. Now here's a slug. I can never get to Costco ever. It seems like such a chore. There never any... I got to go out of my way, even though there's a million of them in the Bay Area. It seems like a impossible task to get to a Costco. And then when you get inside, all the people in there. And it's going to get really bad now with stuff reopening because it is California and we're reopening again. And I said on the radio, you know what? You need to just remember what we've been through the past year. Keep washing your hands. I hope they still have all the hand sanitizers everywhere. I like that. My hands look so smooth. I have really crackly looking hands. White cracks, just so you know. And my hands get so just... I have a listener, Sylvia, who once gave me a bunch of this home remedy that she made that was good for my hands. And my lovely lady friend gets me stuff for my hands. But with all this hand sanitizer, it didn't dry my hands out. It kept them nice and supple. I loved it. So I'm going to keep using the hand sanitizer. I'm going to keep not doing this, which was a big thing with the previous generation, which was when you need like to pull a piece of paper off of a stack of paper, you would sometimes lick your finger. Or you would do the same to like open a plastic bag in the grocery store. You get one of those bags in the produce section. You try and open it and you'd have to lick your finger. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm trying to bring down the need to lick my fingers as much as possible. We used to do too much of that, and who knows what we were catching when we were doing that. And I might just wear masks more often. I did not get sick that much last year with those little annoying colds and whatnot. And that annoying coronavirus and whatnot. And I'm vaccinated now, fully vaccinated. But I'm still not gonna test it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna overstep my boundaries. But maybe you want to get a massage. And here's some great suggestions from Amanda McCracken. And she says you could do an ice massage. How do you do that? You get a paper cup and you freeze it with water. When it's frozen, apply it to sore areas in a circular motion. As the ice melts, peel away the paper to expose more ice. She says, I love using this on shin splints, knees, and the bottom of the foot. It helps decrease inflammation and flush out the area to bring in nutrient-rich blood. She also says use a foam roller. Those things are expensive. I think I paid $50 for a foam roller, and that was... It now just sits there. I use it to block the air coming out from under. I've got a door in my house that leads outside, and a lot of draft comes in through it. So I take the foam roller and I use it at the bottom where the draft comes out, and it stops the draft from coming out. But what I should do, I guess I'm supposed to use it to iron out my muscles and fascia, the sheet of connective tissue that encapsulates muscle and viscera. You're supposed to roll out your back, thighs, calves, and butt muscles with these. And there's lots of YouTube videos to show you how to use it. And then there's the sports balls, which I never got into either. You can use tennis, lacrosse, and golf balls to apply pressure to trigger points. Often by releasing the sensitive taut tissue trigger point, you can stop referral pain triggered by the point. Choose balls based on the surface area you want to target and the intensity needed. She says, I like to freeze golf balls to roll on the bottom of the foot to address plantar fasciitis. I keep a tennis ball in my car to roll out tight areas in my butt and lower back while at a stoplight. You can also lie on these, like tennis ball, or pin them between you and the wall to roll out tension in your lower back and between your shoulder blades. Never rest on a ball for more than 5 seconds. Otherwise, you'll be cutting off blood flow to the area, and that prevents healing. Target areas. Certain muscle groups can really suffer if you spend a lot of time sitting at your computer. Remedy those issues with the tissues with exercises that target these muscles, like pecs. These chest muscles often become tight and shortened when you sit with slumped shoulders, like I'm doing now. While standing, sandwich a tennis ball between you and a wall and roll with it, and I guess it will make you feel better. There's also the suboccipitals, the forward head posture developed from staring at a screen causes these 4 small muscles to shorten and tighten, resulting in a headache. Rest your head on the floor with 2 golf balls at the base of your skull to target their attachments. And finally, glutes. You can use a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball to roll out your butt muscles and tendons to close your sacrum and hip joints. And my hip joints. After sitting for long stretches, these muscles need a wake-up call. There you go. Okay. And finally, as we are wrapping up this podcast today, Mike's Daily Podcast, there was this tale here I heard recently about the teen traders, that they're shaking up the stock market. We talked a little bit about it in a recent podcast. At 16, this one kid, he's a high school junior outside of Chicago. He started trading a year ago, now spends a few hours a day in the market checking his portfolio and his phone between classes and studying charts. I like cars, so I have a lot of interest in car stocks. And I've heard that before. If you have an interest in a particular area, buy stocks in that. But teens might not have much to invest, but brokerage firms are eagerly courting them. Fidelity Investments introduced a youth account for those ages 13 to 17 that comes with a debit card, unlimited trading, and access to nearly the entire U.S. market. Also interesting, this leapt out at me. The pool. Yes, here we go. It's getting hotter, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast. But y'all, check this out. This cray. The pool party season just got bleak. America is facing a chlorine shortage. The tablets preferred by most people to keep pools clean and germ-free are in short supply this season after a fire took out a key production plant. So that will cost more. The chlorine squeeze is especially acute because Americans are more pool happy than ever. Demand for pool upgrades and new construction skyrocketed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pool owners who didn't do any extra work started using their pools more. And the damage took, so it took out a facility. About 2/3 of the U.S. 2/3 of the 5.2 million residential in-ground pools in the U.S. use traditional chlorine systems. The chlorine shortage will affect the vast majority of pool owners. And all because of those chlorine tablets. It's a microcosm of the broader vulnerabilities in supply chains. Almost any disruption that could happen has happened in the past year and a half. With the global pandemic, volatile swings in demand, and shortages of workers. We've had all kinds of... Now, there are alternatives to chlorine tablets. There's granulated or liquid forms of chlorine. There's equipment that generates chlorine from salt via electrolysis, and ultraviolet light or ozone-based sanitizing technology is getting more popular. However, salt systems can corrode stones without proper setup, and salt chlorine generator entails more upfront expenses compared to chlorine tablets. There, I think we've covered that successfully. Now, as we're jumping to the last parts of the podcast today, I need to jump over to E. Arthur Self, PhD, in his book, Good Success, Learning Good Lessons from Bad Leaders, because he had this to say about reactive protection. Having grown up with a family of 3 brothers and now having 2 sons, I've noticed the reality of protective reaction many times. Essentially, reactive protection is expressed in the phrase, I can punch my brother, but you cannot punch my brother. Oh, by the way, I just remembered that it was a year ago that I got so badly drunk because I visited a Brewmaster friend of mine who's been on the podcast before in a segment called Addendum with Kevin. Yes, he gave me lots of beer, which I completely loved. I loved the beer. I loved the beer until I drank too much a year ago today. And I got so sick. The next day I felt horrible. I had a horrible stomachache the night before. Horrific hiccups that would not stop. Every hiccup felt like somebody was punching me in the chest with a firebrand. And that doesn't feel good. Just, ugh. So after that, I have really not drank much beer at all. I maybe have had, in the past year, maybe 2 beers. Yes. Completely put me off beers. Even though my lovely lady friend said today, why don't we grill some hamburgers and drink beer? Just out of the blue, she said that. But I suddenly remembered, wow, that's what happened a year ago today. So much fun at the time, but then I later on that evening felt so sick. And my poor dog, Basil the Boxer, he was still alive then, and he was watching me suffering, going, are you okay? And then something like 17 years ago, I think it was, yours truly got married. I was at a wedding that was my own. And was that 17? I'm pretty sure it was 17 years ago. And it was probably one of the best wedding days ever. The wedding was great. The marriage was not. All these wonderful people were at the wedding. I had a very big and full and populated wedding. My then wife had all her relatives there. I had my mom there and several friends from radio and other friends from my life there. It was wonderful. And I had it was weird because just out of the blue, I was thinking about it early this morning, and then I remembered, oh wow, that was yesterday. That would have been my wedding anniversary. Got divorced though about 8.5 years later, but still, it was a wonderful wedding day. And if I could do math a little better, 11 minus 4 is 6, right? Is that correct? No, it's 7. That's right. Okay. 17 years ago. And that's yours truly, Mike Matthews, is terrible at math. Okay. But back to this. So just anniversaries in general. Today is the anniversary of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It came out 40 years ago. Twister came out 25 years ago with the late, great Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, who supposedly wanted to make a sequel to Twister, but she wanted to do it with a more diverse cast and her as the director, and the movie company said no. The studio said no. And I have never seen the ending of Twister. I went to the theater to see it, and right in the middle of the movie, just as like a tornado is about to hit the camera, the power went out in the theater. And this was in Ventura, California, near the coast. No tornadoes ever. I think maybe they had a water spout once or twice in Ventura, but hardly not typically tornado territory. And all of a sudden we had a power outage in the middle of the movie. So E. Arthur Self continues and says, I have seen this reality played out in the workplace as well, particularly when a third party comes to the assistance and support of those who have been set up upon by bad leaders. People who are bad bosses tend to not defend others being beset by other bad bosses. Most of us tend to become protective of those we love and respect when we observe them being beset by bad bosses. Certainly, we don't wish misuse and abuse for others at the hands of bad leaders, so we naturally defend others, a desirable trait. Inexperienced employees tend to seek out counsel as they observe a lack of transparency, ineptitude, disquieting attitudes, and negative influences of bad bosses. Most are not prepared for those issues, particularly millennials, and their joyfulness of being employed is shaken when these realities set in. Although people at any age, level of seniority, or degree of experience have likely encountered bad leaders, the effect of bad leadership is more likely to cause greater consternation, even pain, among the less experienced. So all that to say that I remember once going to a meeting, and somebody at the meeting threw their car keys at somebody else in the meeting. And then that guy stormed out. That was pretty bad. I think the person who had the keys thrown at him left, though he probably had a huge possible lawsuit he could have filed, being that this was in Santa Barbara, California. Yeah, that was an interesting day. That was in the 80s, now that I think about it. Wow. So yeah, bad bosses, and it's gonna cause problems with the company. What do they say? A good company, leadership, success or failure starts at the top with the good leaders. So yeah, definitely something that should be considered. Thank you, E. Arthur Self, PhD, for your insight on that. And we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Look who's here. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. We have a great boss here. We do. We have a great boss at Cafe Anyway. It's Madame Rutabaga, I think. Or is it me? I forget. Look who else is here. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, I think this is probably the best time to end the podcast. Yeah, I think we got out all we needed to, really. Next show, it's going to be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Tell me what you think about all of this, about drinking too much beer, crazy bosses, yoga. Did we cover yoga? Oh, no, massage. Or you can talk about yoga, whatever. Staycations. You can call me 336-MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM is a Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast tries to be and doesn't always get to do because of things like life.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!